Hey everyone, this is Louie Zumbaugh with Rush Hour Ag, coming to you from rural Coggin, Iowa, from my front porch. This week's episode is going to be about solar and wind again, and our guest is a fellow named Jeff Risley. He says he's the executive director of Renewable Energy Farmers of America. We met him down there at Decatur at the Farm Progress Show, and he seemed like he'd be an interesting guest. But I just wanted to put a little disclaimer out that he not only works with farmers and ranchers, he's also often hired by the energy companies themselves. And that comes out in the podcast. He brings that up. But I just wanted to be upfront about it so that you knew that going into the podcast ahead of time. So enjoy the show and have a good day. This is Louie Zumbaugh with Rush Hour Ag. Leave your message after the tone.
Hey Louie, it's Elliott and Henderson. Can't wait to tell you about
rolling down the back road, truth riding with the dust, talking agriculture policy with people you can trust. From the field to the Capitol, we're breaking it down. Real talk, real issues from a real farm town. Every hour's rush hour when the work won't wait, so we're cutting through the noise and setting things straight.
what's your rush today, Elliott?
Hey, welcome back everybody to Rush Hour Ag. We're in Decatur, Illinois at the 2025 Farm Progress Show. Having a great time, putting on a few episodes of Rush Hour Ag.
Weather's beautiful. We just got done listening to some tractors roar their engine outside here on the main drag, and
You bet.
we got a good guest here.
We do. His name's Jeff Risley. He is from the Renewable Energy Farmers of America,
That's right.
and that's a nonprofit,
It is nonprofit 501c6.
and you are the executive director.
That's correct, Luke.
How long's it been around?
You know what? We just launched over a month ago.
All right.
Been working on it for about a year, but just went public with it in July.
Okay.
Well, tell us all about it.
Yeah. So our mission's real simple. We are trying to help farmer and rancher landowners navigate the large-scale renewable energy space and protect their property rights in the process. So as you guys know, farmers and ranchers are getting hit up all over the country from renewable energy developers wanting to put wind, solar, storage, even transmission on their land. And just as a side note, more than 90% of the renewable energy development, the large scale, is built on private land, and that's farmland. So there's never been an organization, kind of like the National Association of Corn Growers, only it's a different crop, right? There's never been an organization that helps those farmers with education, peer-to-peer networking, advocacy, and even, professional services like non-legal lease reviews. So something to help them decide if this is the right thing for them or not. We're not cheerleaders for renewables. We're not anti anything. We're really pro opportunity for farmers and ranchers because this could represent a significant additional income stream and, a really tough time for family farms.
What was the thing that spurred the development of this organization?
It's been talked about for a few years within industry and within the farming community. And as more development has occurred, it just kind of rose to the surface. I happened to be in the right place at the right time. My family farm is in western Kansas in Lane County. We still have that in the family. In fact, we just leased it for a potential wind project. Mm-hmm. And I was talking with people in industry and other farmers, and we said, this might be a good time to do this. And so last year a team of us started putting it together. And we just thought now's better than ever. I wish I would have done it 10 years ago, but now's better than never.
And then you're out of Colorado too, right?
That's right. I live in Denver.
Yep.
Our headquarters for the association is actually outside of Chicago. Okay. And then all of our team works remote. We got board members from 11 different states.
Okay.
So.
And do you travel around and help people negotiate or?
Yep, we can do all that.
So is there a fee that you charge for that or it's?
The dues are $250 a year for the farmers and ranchers, and members are only farmer and rancher landowners. Nobody else can be a member. Now we got sponsors. I can tell you more about that, but what we do, Louis, is we've got basically 4 services. We've got the education, which you can get, through webinars, and heck, you can call staff, and we've got an AI knowledge base that contains all kinds of data at the nexus of agriculture and renewable energy development. You can ask us any question, and we can probably answer it. Then we've got advocacy, or essentially helping at a local level. Maybe you've got a township or county that's a little anti-renewable and could potentially, hurt the potential for your project. We can work with you on that. We can work at the state level in lobbying for legislation or against detrimental legislation. And then we've also got professional services. So this is really probably where most of our members come in. A land agent comes to your farm, knocks on the door, brings you a 30-page lease. You're like, I could give it to my local attorney, but I don't know. So we do non-legal lease review as one of our professional services. You can bring it to us. We can look at it in 3 different levels, kind of 3 different price ranges based on what you need us to do. But we also do tax and accounting questions answered, business advisory, anything, these developments are going to impact your operations, no question. So we want to help you think through that, before you actually sign a lease and get into the development and construction and everything else. So that's really the 4 service areas we work in.
So there's something in the news now about the Trump administration shutting down some of this wind and solar funding. How's that going to affect this, you think?
It's interesting. So we actually put out a statement when USDA came out with their Farmer First policy plan, which 99% of it we agree with. There's a lot of good info in there. The one part we had hoped they'd reconsider was grants to farmers and ranchers for what's called distributed generation, or we call behind the meter. So that's really what this latest announcement.
Explain. I've heard behind the meter before, so explain that.
You bet. Good point, Louie. So there's really 3 types of development if you want to put it in big categories. The behind the meter means that you're going to go in and pay for a development, probably a solar array of some sort, and you're going to use that power on the farm for your operations. You could use it as main power source, run grain dryers, you name it.
You maintain ownership of that?
You maintain ownership. You've had to finance that. And that's what those grants, the REAP grants, which they just backed off of at USDA, were funding primarily. So REAP's been around since 2014. It's helped thousands of farmers. But the next category is what we call community development. So that's going to be about 1 to 10 megawatts at most. And in that case, developer comes in, leases your land, but the power is sold back to your utility, and everybody in the region can subscribe to it for cheaper power. So in other words, the power stays local.
But in part of Iowa that I'm from, we have Alliant Energy, and it's never cheaper.
Yeah.
It just keeps going, and you can look it up. Maybe you've heard of them. They're one of the highest energy prices in the nation, probably.
Yeah, it's the idea behind community solar is that it can help you get generation for your folks locally at a cheaper rate. Now, you got to work through your local utility, though, whether that's an IOU or
See, when you talk about community solar, I think it's something totally different.
Okay.
And Alliant won't let you do this either. But I think, say you live in a cul-de-sac,
Mm-hmm.
and you have, you live on a 25-acre parcel, but most of it's just ground, a little rougher, and you got 8 people live on it. To me, community solar would be those 8 band together, they build one solar array, and it feeds all 8 houses. But they have 8 different meters, and Alliant won't let you do that. That's what I call community solar, and I think that gets back. I'm a firm believer that solar energy works. I have it at the farm. I'm beating it at another place.
Good.
If you own it.
Yeah.
But my experience is if you let the utility company build it, your energy is going to go up.
Yeah, it's going to vary. Every project, every
Can you
state.
name some places that it's actually where a company has put in wind or solar, where the people's utilities actually went down?
Well, generally they're not related, Louie. So think about it this way. They ought to be, but here's why. Because big, what we call utility scale solar or wind farms, like the one we're leased for, that's produced or that's built by an independent power producer. So a developer. They come in, they've got an off-taker, a contract with somebody, Google, any AI data centers, whatever it may be. So the power never goes through the local utility to potentially do anything for anybody locally. It's sold elsewhere.
It's transmitted.
Right.
Yeah.
Goes onto the grid. However, all of the dollars that development creates in terms of tax, pilot payments, all of that stays locally. And of course, the lease for the farmer and rancher, that's a new income stream for them too. So that's why these are kind of different. Now here, your idea would be great. A big utility scale project and a community scale project at the same time that would be able to go through your local utility for the community scale to benefit and lower rates locally, if your utility will allow it, and then a utility scale to bring in the tax money.
But it still should be related. So in our area, like NextEra would build it, cheaper than NextEra,
Yep.
and then they sell it to our local utility, which in this case, I'm talking about is Alliant Energy, which is overlooked by the state of Iowa, that utilities board. But it really doesn't matter if you put it on the grid and send it to Chicago. It still is worth a dollar value.
Mm-hmm.
So that dollar value, if Alliant owns it, it'd come off your local bill.
Yeah,
It's just a billing issue.
it is, and it's really the utilities.
They don't want to do it.
That's right.
They don't even care where your power comes from. If it was gerbils on a wheel tomorrow, everybody would be for gerbils on a wheel. Well, it would be, that.
Yeah, utilities are they're, in some cases, this goes all around them because the power is not going through them in any way. But in other cases, you're right. It's if they're selling it to the local utility or using it locally somehow, of course, there's politics and business involved. We're less about worrying about that part of it and more about, okay, you guys decide you want to do something on your property. Where do you start? And so call us, become a member, and we can basically walk you through that, through the life of that project. I mean, just because you sign a lease doesn't mean you're going to get a project.
And you don't have to sign the lease that they bring you.
No.
You can I've tried to express this to the people that I used to represent. You can write up whatever you want. I've got 2 pipelines through my farm. I have several things in there that would be different. Now, in the end, they pretty much sent me a Dear John letter, along with a lot of other people.
Mm-hmm.
But you can write it in your lease. Maybe you want to, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but that has to do with the solar or the wind. But
Sure.
well, maybe you want to have a certain grass planted.
You're going right.
You want to have taller, you want to have your panels higher off the ground so you can graze it. It's not saying you're going to get it, but you can put it in your lease and then let them choose if they want to come.
That's exactly right. Lou, you're on the right track. That's one of the things we're really pushing is, what we call dual use projects, where you're going to keep in production, whatever it is, and have some solar available to increase the ultimate profit per acre that you're going to make. So you may take out some, potential row crop, or you may have hay. There's, the entire agrivoltaic space, which is dual use, is definitely not the norm yet, but it is growing significantly. I've seen, majority of cases right now are sheep grazing, but there's also cattle grazing. Definitely can be done. You can do row crops. You can also do specialty products, specialty agriculture. I've even seen it in orchards and cranberry bogs, for crying out loud. So that's the way we get this to work. And the farmer and rancher landowner have a lot of power to work with the developers, so that we call it a farmer first approach. We want those developers to be thinking about how we can help this farmer and rancher keep this in production and increase their overall profit per acre.
And overall, is that met pretty willingly by the power companies? Or I know, liability falls in there. So
Sure.
the ones I'm familiar with, which is large scale, they want to fence it off.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want you in there for their own liability. I mean,
In some cases,
got a wire, your sheep get tangled up in it or whatever. Do you find that to be the case, or do you find them overall? Of course, we're talking about totally different areas of the country. You're more in ranch land. And
well, it depends. No, and it really depends on the developer, guys. I mean, there's some really forward-thinking developers that are actually sponsors of ours that are actually trying to do more agrivoltaics, whatever it may be, grazing or cropland, and they'll work really closely with the farmer. Soil testing before and after. I mean, no grading, anything we can do to maintain soil. So, raising the panels in certain circumstances. So ultimately it's got to pencil out for both parties. And in a lot of cases it does. Some developers are not quite there yet. They're still exploring that space. They'll do more traditional development. But the industry is absolutely moving that way in a lot of cases because farmer and ranchers are asking for it.
So I'm thinking about Iowa and, the windmill topic. It keeps getting brought up. And right now, a lot of that stuff is influenced at the county level.
That's right.
Whether or not it's going to be approved or not. There is a effort to have that decision made at the state level right now. A lot of talk about changing policy so that authority goes away from the county and to the state. Are you guys working like in that sector to try to advocate for different methods of control?
We haven't yet, Elliott. We haven't taken a position on that. There's only a few states that have kind of explored that area. Michigan, has a state policy like that. Ohio does as well. Iowa's considered it. There were 47 states considered some sort of different related bills in the last legislative sessions about this topic of solar and wind. So I suspect we'll see more of that. However, mostly local control works. I mean, as long as those local governments are open-minded and listen to the landowners and don't try to infringe on property rights, that's
There again, most of the time when you're talking property rights, I don't care what you want to talk to it about. Somebody's are trumping somebody else's. I mean, my big problem.
What's your example?
My big problem with it in our county, and I was a county supervisor.
Okay.
I voted no.
Okay.
If I sell you my 160 acres, and I don't say that, I sell you the acreage. Okay, I'm gonna retire. I sell you the acreage. You buy the house. You live there 10 years. All of a sudden, you know what? I can make $1,500 an acre putting this in solar, and they put solar panels 50 foot from your house. Now, I'm a firm believer that do I have the right to do that? Yeah. Should I do that? I don't think so, because you didn't buy that thinking there was. So really, my rights as the landowner for that big farm are trumping your rights as the house owner. Now, I think there's a solution to that, and it's called, for whatever you want to call it, paying off the guy in the house.
Well, you're right.
But I think it's worth something. He should get something out of it. He's the one that's left there living it. He bought the acreage.
Sir, I mean, in practically speaking, there are setbacks in most places,
And it turned out to be, I think, 300 foot.
right, 250 is kind of average, but 300 is easily part of it. And of course, I mean, property rights don't mean I get to do whatever I want to do and the hell with everybody. I mean, that works. We live in a community, and so you want to involve that community in this. It's more about putting up artificial barriers that allow that farmer or rancher to at least consider the opportunity. If we can't even consider it, then that to me seems like a problem. But making fair and fair local ordinances that protect the environment, protect other landowners, all of that's smart. That's smart policy. There are lots of developers too that'll do good neighbor agreements. So they'll pay a little less maybe lease for you since it's on your ground, but pay your surrounding neighbors some money.
Kind of like a mineral right.
But here's the problem with that. I'm being devil's advocate.
Oh, I hear you.
Hard on you.
That's all right.
It's not my response. If I own that 100, we'll go back to that 160. Why should I get paid less because you're going to infringe on the guy I sold the acreage to? You want my property. You're going to own the energy. You're the one going to make all the money. You shouldn't pay me less. You should just pay him something also.
Potentially. Yeah, that could be the solution as well.
Does that ever happen?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. There's lots of, look, every project's unique because every local community is unique and every situation is unique. That's the point, is that working together with the developer and the community is the smart move.
Something I really struggle with, and I've said it before on the show, is how do we maintain that income into these communities as generations leave this land, and they, maybe in your case too, you live in Denver, you have the family farm back in Kansas, the income that comes off of that is leaving that community into your pockets in Denver. How do the people of that community benefit more from that income that's being generated off of those? Is there anywhere? And I just learned about this in Germany and Europe. They require part of the ownership of these instruments or these, energy producing, whether it's solar or wind, has to be owned by the person that's living on the land still. Is there anywhere in the United States where something like that's happening?
That's interesting. Well, first of all, to be clear, the revenue from our farm is still in mom and dad's pocket.
Okay.
None of
Picking on you, I know, but we're not. We're just trying to get it.
I'm getting none of that.
Yeah, good.
And I'm glad it's going to them. But there's two, to answer your question directly, really no, not yet in the United States. The landowner is the primary beneficiary of the lease, right?
Yep.
Now, tenant farmers in an agrivoltaic situation can continue to farm and earn off of that. Hell, sometimes farmers can then reduce the rent rate.
So explain to me how that never happens. It seems like the landlord's willing to take less money if there's an inconvenience to the tenant.
Of course, it doesn't. You know what? That's up to the tenant and the landlord. I'm just making suggestions on how you can all work together. But the point being, there isn't anything like that here in the United States, like you described in Germany. But here's the way you can keep that money in the community. First of all, the property taxes in most states stays in the community.
That's
the
right.
developer pays the property taxes, and it's millions of dollars over the life of these projects. School districts saved. I've seen Ohio school districts build new schools when they were going to lose them because of stuff like this. The second is what we call community benefit agreements. So this is something we actually work on with communities. So let's say we go work with your local community and they've got a bunch of needs they identify. Our hospital needs upgrades, our grocery store, we need this, that, and the other. The idea behind a community benefit agreement is it's a contractual, instrument with the developer that pays over time into the community, into some sort of fund that the community can use for those particular needs it's identified. And these are, they are not the norm again, but they are happening for sure. And we are actually a believer in that for communities. If you have a community development association of some sort, an economic development organization that can manage those funds, then you guys can prioritize where it should be used locally. So that's another way to keep it in the community.
Okay.
So do you ever have, your primarily customers are farmers and ranchers primarily?
That's right. They're either already hosting projects or they're interested in, want to learn more.
So does a NextEra ever hire you to advocate for them?
No. Nope, we don't work on behalf of the developers. They can't vote. They can't do any of that. Now, they do sponsor our organization. To be completely transparent, we have sponsorship categories, and we're creating what's called a developer advisory committee. So these folks, first of all, have a lot of intelligence about the development process that we can leverage, and we want to work with them. We want to be a bridge between those landowners and those developers. They rely on each other. One can't work without the other.
Good for the goose.
What did you call them again?
They're a developer advisory committee.
Okay. So do they fund you at all?
Yes, they do through sponsorships. That's correct.
But
But none of that, we're basically made a policy that said no more than 50% of our money would ever come from the development community.
Say I'm in an area and I don't want this, several neighbors don't want it. Have you ever been hired on the basis of not putting it in?
No, we're going to do what our members ask. Membership
Well, but if
leads
I buy a
everything.
membership
Yeah.
and I want to hire you then to advocate for me not to have it.
Not our mission.
Okay.
Sure.
Now, it would be if you want to personally explore it and say, is this right or wrong for me? That's completely different than I need you to fight against this for me at the local level, because there's probably other landowners who have a different opinion about it.
Yeah, but they're not in the group.
Yeah. It's a good, fair question, but it's not our mission.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
We touched on agrivoltaics.
Yeah.
And I don't know that the industry has a good enough understanding of what that all means. And if
The
you,
ag industry or the renewables industry?
the ag industry, so I actually did take a meeting with a gentleman that grew up on a farm. He's a chiropractor now, and he is just crazy about electric cars. And, there's going to be a big demand and drive for more electricity on the grid. And he just thinks that, solar panels on these fields and working with row crop operations is the future. And so he's the one that really enlightened me to this agrivoltaics. So it's like, I think that conversation needs to be had a little bit more to get people comfortable with it.
Correct.
Because I really wasn't comfortable with it until he had really painted a picture with a really broad brush. And I think you should take a moment and kind of explain like what your vision for the future and how that really ties into rural in Iowa.
Well, and really agrivoltaics is specifically, first of all, about solar, not wind. 'Cause
Okay.
when you've got wind, you can still farm it. Doesn't take up many acres at all. So let's set that aside. But yes, that is the future in our opinion, because we want farmers and ranchers to continue doing what they do best, which is caretaking of the soil and the land for the next generation. And they want to farm it. So the idea that we can be more innovative as a developer community is absolutely possible. So, but you said it best, Elliott. Nobody knows about this yet. It's still, like I said, not the norm. It's mostly used in a lot of places that are not big row crop and not big cattle, but that's changing.
To me, this is like soybeans in the 50s. Nobody's ever heard of them.
There you go.
But by the 70s, everybody was trying to grow soybeans.
Or nobody knew about ethanol and renewable fuel standards until
It's the same thing. It's a thing that it exists, but our culture doesn't really know what it is. So this is your platform to talk about it.
well, and it exists and it's not going away. I mean, the bottom line is in our history, I'm probably your guys' age, close. You're Louie. I think you're younger, Elliott. You're definitely my age.
Okay.
We have
Tell
seen.
people I'm 72.
That's wrong.
I'm not. I know, but most people then look at you and say, damn, you look good for 72. No, I'm not near 72. I just tell people.
In our lifetimes, we haven't seen electricity demand increase that significantly. It's about 2% a year, mostly in our lifetimes. That's significantly changing now because of AI data centers, hyperscalers. The demand for electricity is going to increase significantly.
And there again, I have an issue with it.
You have an increase of that increasing or what?
No, I'm sure it's going to increase.
Okay.
But it shouldn't be the ratepayer that pays for any of that.
Don't disagree.
But yet it is in my neck of the woods,
Currently,
and that's wrong.
because demand isn't generation isn't meeting demand. As soon as we can put more on the grid, right? We have to put more. This is an all of the above strategy. If solar right now and wind are the cheapest and fastest ways to get more generation on the grid, and of course, storage is necessary to go with that to deal with the intermittency. If we can't continue to scale all of these forms, we're going to see prices increase significantly in every state. We have to keep up with that generation.
But it should be to that price increase should go to the people putting in the data centers, not the guy living out in the house.
It's a good argument.
And secondly, you're not going to like this, but the cheapest form of energy we have in this country is natural gas. We have an abundance of it. They blow it off in South Texas.
It is. It's just not the cheapest to put on the grid. That's the difference I'm saying here. Right now, the fastest and cheapest way to get it is through renewables. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't put gas on. We should.
Probably arguable.
We need all of it is the point to keep up with this generation. Now, there's some data centers that are trying to co-locate with gas or renewables and storage. And in that case, they're paying for all of it too. But our grid works because it's shared. It's pockets and it's shared. So it's not as easy as just, hey, make those guys pay. I agree with you. I wish we could.
It is. Electricity is a commodity. That's all it is.
Well, I think about too, if I want to put in 3-phase, it's going to cost me like $80,000 if I want it. I have to pay that as the new.
You have to get a few of your neighbors to want it with you, and then the price.
But it would. But like you said, to your point though, like the folks that are coming in that want that data center there, they're not paying the full cost of it. But they ought to be. Like I am if I want 3-phase, but I follow it, but it's a nutty thing. I guess.
And we're outside my area of expertise here when it comes to the data centers and what their demands are. I just know that the data I see is we are seeing an increase in demand for electricity. We have to meet that, or else we're going to increase electric prices all over the country. So why not take advantage as farmers and ranchers of that income opportunity? Call it above ground energy. We've leased our land for oil and gas development as well. So why can't I lease energy above ground, especially if I can pair it with continuing my operations?
Well, I think it has a lot of variables that
Yes.
everybody knows about, but we come from very fertile soils.
Yep.
We grow great crops. You're talking about West Kansas, pasture ground for the most part.
Pasture and a lot of row crops, weeds, milo.
I'll grant you that.
Yeah.
But not the type of ground. I used to have farm in Kansas. It's just not the type of.
Oh, you're right. It's very different. You're very correct. I was driving from Champaign to here and I was telling my parents, I'm like, It's unbelievable how tall the corn is here because, it's just not that way in Western Kansas.
Right.
Yeah, well, you guys plant it. I think we used to plant corn like 24,000 plants per acre when you were, and,
It's crazy.
and here we plant it 36 or more.
It's amazing to me. It really is how efficient you guys can grow these huge crops all the time. And we have to summer follow as well.
Right.
But there are examples. This is in Alberta, Canada, grant you, but there's a big developer up there who is putting in a 2,000-acre solar agrivoltaic project, and they're going to continue cutting wheat on it. And that developer is also going to pay for that farmer and rancher to rejigger his equipment to work within. So they've been working very closely on, the row spacing, heights, everything else. Very good story. So I'm going to keep following that because those are the examples that are going to wake up a lot of folks and go, holy cow, if I can still cut corn, soybeans, wheat, and graze.
So, which brings me to another question
Yep.
that I've never gotten an answer from, but you might know. So back to my fictitious 160 acres. I rent that or lease it to XYZ. Do they pay on the 160 acres or do they actually pay on the acres that the solar panels actually sit on?
It's different in probably most contracts, but so this is what I know so far, Louis. So, for example, if it's 160 acres that's being impacted, it's not 160 acres of solar panels, but 160 acres being impacted, gathering lines, other things underground, roads, fencing. They'll likely pay you for the whole 160 acres, right? So the lease is going to dictate all of that, which is why we want to help the farmers and ranchers look at those leases.
Right. So what's that look like up there in Canada where they're doing that? You've got, an array of solar and then 100 foot, 200 foot, 1,000 feet. I don't know what's that look like?
I don't know yet, Elliott. I'm still trying to get the plans from the developer for this because it's not even under construction yet, but it's going forward.
Okay.
It's a good demonstration project to keep track of. So I wish I could answer your question, but I haven't seen it yet.
Very cool. Very cool.
Well, I think you do offer a lot of valuable insight for people that want to do it. And I'm sure it'd be helpful for a lot of people that don't understand the contracts and whatnot. How much does it cost to
It's $250 a year. They can join online at renewableenergyfarmers.org. And, we've got private online community where all the members can talk to each other, and we're going to start meeting up together in real life. I'm already helping one of our members in Erie County, Pennsylvania, in a township where the anti-solar activists are pushing back, and it's going to kill a bunch of projects in that township. And so we're trying to assist and give fact-based, nonpartisan information. That's the problem. Farmers and ranchers need straight talk, not misinformation. So we're trying to give that to them so they can make the right call.
So we went hard into solar and wind. Carbon. You get into carbon at all?
We're not doing anything around carbon capture, but it's a great idea, Elliott. We've also been asked if we will get into the biogas digester area. Our board's
That's another
considering
European thing. That's
right.
I mean, that's a huge industry in Europe.
It is. And, definitely dairy farmers in the United States can't take advantage.
Hog buildings everywhere too. I mean, I don't know. I'm a little surprised that we're lagging behind with that, but it's all about economics, and we do have pretty cheap, like you say, natural gas is pretty cheap here. So
Right.
but the wind and solar thing, it's here, and I think it's here to stay too. But it's going to have its challenges.
And storage, is definitely increasing. So that's a whole nother ball of wax we're trying to assist with. And high voltage transmission. I mean, we're going to have to move this in between regions more than we are right now, or this isn't going to work. So farmers and ranchers, again, are going to get hit up by these developers. And it's a little bit different process than it is for, a solar or wind development. So all of this is about helping those farmers.
Well, I'm glad you got a chance to come on today and talk about what you're doing. I think you're a big help for people that are in need of your services. And I think it's good that there's somebody like you doing this.
Yeah, well, we sure hope so.
Yeah, it's great to meet you.
You too, gentlemen. Thanks for your time on the county board. We appreciate that. I know that's not an easy job.
I am retired from it, but thank you. And thanks to our listeners, and I hope you rush on back for another episode.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, guys.